So there's been more developments in the GameStop story. Apps like Robinhood and ETrade have stopped the trading for stocks like GameStop and AMC, and I think there's some pretty interesting things to talk about from that news. So I've already done a video on the GameStop situation, and you can go and check that video out. I'll leave a link in the description below, but I'll provide a really quick overview of it in this video. So if you take a look at these tweets from Josh Gross, he essentially said that over a year ago, back in 2019, people realized that these hedge fund groups were shorting GameStop stock because they obviously thought that GameStop wasn't going to do well, just like Blockbuster didn't do very well because of Netflix. And so the hedge fund company started to short the stock. And essentially what happens is when you short a stock, you're hoping that the price will go down, but you're in trouble if the price goes up. So the redditors started to fight back against these hedge fund companies because the redditors thought that the stock was trading below fair market value, and the short companies were saying, no, we're going to drive the price of this stock down. And then the redditors started to fight back. And then what we had was, over the last 3 or 4 months, more and more people started to get on board because they wanted to fight back against these hedge fund companies, basically Wall Street. So over September to October, the price started to grow from $4 to $8 to $12. On January the 8th, it was $20. And then the last week or so, it just went crazy when the mainstream media took hold of the news. Then everybody started to pile in and started to drive the price of these, drive the price of the stocks up. So basically that's what's happened. Now, if you want to find out more information about this, make sure to check out this article from The Verge, How Wall Street Bets Game the Stock of GameStop. And in that article, you'll find out how stocks work and what actually happened in the GameStop situation. But I thought there was an interesting point in this article where they talk about, at this point, you may be wondering whether what Wall Street Bets is doing is illegal. After all, it's a group of people trying to artificially drive up a stock price in order to sell for outsized profits. Now, when you think about this, technically why they have a rule like this is like if you have 100 people and they all get given the same information, well, not everybody is going to be able to win, and some people are going to have to lose for other people to make money. So if all 100 people decide to sell out at the same time, well, some people are going to be ahead in the sell queue and some people are going to be at the end of that sell queue. So some people might be able to sell it for $100, but then by the time it gets to the last person, they're going to have nothing left. They're going to be holding the bag, basically. Is this illegal or isn't it? And I would say, well, isn't this what investment groups and hedge fund groups do all the time anyways? They're getting large groups of money, they're getting money from everybody, and then they're going to pull that together and then try to make money from that. Okay, let's talk about this article which I mentioned in the intro of this video, and it's from The Verge again, and it says here, Robinhood will allow limited buys of stocks like GameStop starting Friday. And in its statement, Robinhood emphasized that the decision to halt purchases was made because of internal risk to the company, not as a response to outside pressure from other financial actors. And the last line here says, to be clear, this was a risk management decision and was not made on the direction of the market makers we route to. Now, basically, what Robinhood is an app, but they offer free trades for people. That's why people into the app, that's why they use the app, because normally with a bank you have to pay a transaction fee to make a trade. Now, what do Robinhood get in return? Well, they act with another investment group. This one is called Citadel Securities, and essentially Citadel Securities get the information from the general public who use the app, and they use that information to make flip trades on the other side. So they'll find out information about what people are doing, and then they use that in return to as information data sourcing, I guess, and to make trades in the other direction. So essentially what's happened is Robinhood has taken power into its own hands, much like a lot of these other big tech companies are doing right now. And we have to ask ourselves, well, are these companies acting in their own interest, or are they acting in the interest of the general public? And if they're stopping people from buying these stocks, then essentially what they're doing is they're helping these investment banks and hedge fund companies hold the price down, and they don't want the price of the stock to go up any higher because they've shorted the stock. So Robinhood, what they're doing is they're helping these hedge fund companies out. So there's another article here from The Verge, and it says that ETrade, which is another app much like Robinhood, it says that it confirms that it halted GameStop and AMC stock, will let you buy some Friday. And essentially what's happening here is that the app companies are working with the Wall Street companies, and the Wall Street companies just calling up their best mates and saying, hey, do something for me, because they need to get out of the mess that they're in. Now, there's another article here from The Verge, and it seems like politicians are now getting involved in the situation, which they always do when there's money involved. And it seems as though AOC, which is Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, a House Democrat, she says that they want an investigation into Robinhood's GameStop freeze. And we really have to remember that it's not always what these politicians say, it's what they do that counts, okay? So they can say a lot of this stuff to get a lot of support behind them, but in the end, what actually is really important is their actions, and we have to judge these politicians by their actions. But at least the noise that they're making right now is good, and it's what people want to hear. But this is one of her tweets, and she says, "This is unacceptable. We now need to know more about Robinhood App's decision to block retail investors from purchasing stock while hedge funds are freely able to trade the stock as they see fit. As a member of the Financial Services Committee, I'd support a hearing if necessary." And there's another interesting quote here from Rokana, and he says, "We're done letting hedge fund billionaires treat the stock market like their personal playground, then taking their ball home as soon as they lose." He continued, "We need more regulation and equality in the markets." Now, what I thought was pretty interesting was that Ted Cruz actually agreed with AOC's initial tweet. So, you know, when does a right-wing politician, a very right-wing politician, agree with a very left-wing politician? Well, in 2021, after a presidential election where it doesn't really matter what side you're on anymore, that's when they agree on things. Now, this final article says that Senate to hold hearing on the stock market after Reddit GameStop squeeze, and it says here, people on Wall Street only care about the rules when they're the ones getting hurt. American workers have known for years the Wall Street system is broken. They've been paying the price, Brown said in a statement Thursday. It's time for the SEC and Congress to make the economy work for everyone, not just Wall Street. That's why, as incoming chair of the Senate Banking and Housing Committee, I plan to hold a hearing to that important work. So I find it interesting it was the gamers that rose up against the billionaire class, and that it happened to GameStop. Because essentially, I don't think this story would have had such a big impact if it was just some random manufacturing company. So I think it's really interesting that it was the gamers who decided to rise up. And I think a lot of that has to do with the resentment of being a gamer over all this time. And, you know, a lot of the billionaire class, they own a lot of the media. And they often give a lot of credibility to other forms of entertainment, such as movies and art and music and books and that, but not a whole lot to gaming. Like, you'd have to do crazy well to get onto the front page of the New York Times. And I always felt like growing up, gaming, I was always treated as an outsider, and that it wasn't something that you want to talk about because it was unproductive. Right, so I think that's the view of this older generation. They see gaming as unproductive, whereas a lot of the millennials, they don't see it that way at all. They see it as a social activity, much like any other social activities where you go out to a restaurant and eat and stuff. They see it as a social activity with other people, other like-minded people. So I do think it's interesting that it happened to the gamers. Anyway, that's going to be it for me for this one. And if you have a comment at all on the situation and how it's going to go and how it's all going to pan out, leave a comment down below, and let's start the discussion in the comments below. But as always, if you like this video, make sure to click the like button and also to subscribe to this channel for more videos like this, and I'll see you in the next one.